Good morning. My name is Bill Brown, class of 75, and president of the Alumni Association. Welcome to the 2004 Distinguished Alumni Awards Ceremony. Since 1995, the J.P. McCaskey Alumni Association has been proud to present these awards to those individuals who have achieved a level of stature which the students of the school district of Lancaster will want to emulate. Benjamin May, the former president of Morehouse College, once said, "The tragedy of life does not lie in not reaching your goals. The tragedy lies in not having any goals to reach." Today, we honor 5 individuals who have demonstrated outstanding character and achievement in their fields and in their community, not perhaps while always reaching their goals, but always in the effort to reach them. Thank you for joining us today and in honoring the 2004 Distinguished Alumni Award recipients. It's my honor and privilege to welcome to the podium our interim superintendent of schools, Dr. John Bonke.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. It's my privilege to be here this morning for this wonderful occasion at which time the distinguished alumni for the current year of 2004 will be named. And I would like to greet all of you and all of the distinguished alumni who are here this evening and all this morning, and also the distinguished alumni who are with us this morning who have been named in past years. There are a number of them here in the audience, and we are very pleased to have you. The Distinguished Alumni Awards are a wonderful award that hopefully you will find as you listen to the accomplishments of the men and women who are presented here this morning will give you something that you can work toward. They have achieved success, but they didn't see success as a destination. They saw success as a stop in the advancement of their careers and also in their serving others through community service. And so I want you to listen this morning as you listen to their accomplishments and achievements to see what they did as they moved along, always setting their goals high and always moving along to do their very, very best and also to serve others. Yes, they will be eminent people, they will be celebrated, they will be prominent, they will be noted, and even in their own right, they will be famous. And hopefully this morning, as you hear that, you will say, "I would like someday to be like them." And so, we want you to enjoy the program this morning and listen carefully so that you can pick up some ideas in terms of maybe what you would like to do so that maybe someday you can be on this stage as a distinguished alumni. But remember, even if you're not here on this stage, you can always be a distinguished alumni by what you show individuals in this community and with what you do with the skills and abilities that you achieve and how you use your talents to help yourself and to help others. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the Master of Ceremonies for the morning. Mr. Dick Hawksworth is with us this morning. I think most of you see Mr. Hawksworth on Channel 8. Mr. Hawksworth has been 35 years experience as a News 8 reporter and anchor. He currently anchors the News 8 today from 5 to 7 a.m. Most of you are up, I'm sure, at that time. And Mr. Hawksworth also anchors the News 8 at noon every day. He has covered the Agnes Flood, he's covered 3 Mile Island, he covered the American prisoners of war from Vietnam, the first plane load of Vietnamese refugees to arrive in the United States. So he's covered numerous stories at the White House and reported on several national political conventions. He is a native of Lancaster County. He graduated from J.P. McCaskey High School. He served 4 years in the United States Air Force during the Vietnam War and attended Sophia University in Tokyo. He had been very active in the community. He served 6 years as the member of the Lancaster Family YMCA's Board of Directors and 8 years as a member of the YMCA committees on youth programs. Mr. Hoffer also was a member of the Lancaster County Council on Drug and Alcohol Abuse. His extensive list of honors include numerous first-place awards from the Associated Press and the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters for reporting. He had been nominated for 16 regional Emmy Awards and was awarded 2 Emmys for news writing. And he too was named as a distinguished alumni in 1999. So it's my pleasure, and will you help me welcome for our Master of Ceremonies this morning, Mr. Dick Hoffer.
Thank you, Dr. Bonfield. Good morning, McCaskey. It is always a pleasure to come home to J.P. McCaskey High School. And I want to have you meet some other members of the McCaskey family at this time. These are past recipients of the Distinguished Alumni Award who are with us this morning. Dr. Paul Ripple, class of 1940. Barbara Valvanis, class of 1945. Barb. One of the top neurosurgeons in the United States of America, McCaskey graduate, Dr. James Argiers. And of course, you know this guy, a good friend, dedicated educator, Buddy Glover. And is Donna Glover with us? Okay, she's class of 71. Yours truly, class of 62. Gordy Kraft with us. I knew Gordy was going to be here. Former McCaskey coach and educator. Class of 58. The Honorable Charlie Smithgold, Mayor of the Red Rose City of Lancaster. Class of 63. Rosa Cunningham Harris, class of 67. Rosa. And Jim Schultz, class of 64. Jim's very active in the Bring Baseball Back to Lancaster movement. Congratulations and thank you for your work, Jim. Also, the people who have the difficult, and I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it is a difficult task every year to decide on the 5 recipients of the Distinguished Alumni Award, because as you might imagine, the nominations we get are awesome. The people who went through McCaskey, it would boggle your mind if you looked at these people and what they are doing today and you say, wow, I didn't know they went to McCaskey. The Distinguished Alumni Awards Committee, Jim Apple, class of 62. And if you're here, would you please stand? William Bogan, class of 81. Susan Garapola. Nick Giannopoulos, class of 41. Nick. I have the honor of serving on that committee too. John W. Luce, class of 43. Noted author and historian, Joe Notwell Stokes, class of 56. And Sherma Height Wollston Hume, class of 67. I know Sherma. Okay, how many of you went to John Reynolds? Oh, that's all right, come on, let's hear it. This is roll call time. John Reynolds. No. Let's be kind, let's be kind. All right, how many went to Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln? And how many of you went to Wheeland? Okay, there is one more here. How many many of you went where I went? Edward Hand. Yeah. I went to George Washington, moved next door to Edward Hand, and came out here to McCaskey. Oh yeah. How many of you would look at Dick Hawksworth and say, he was probably an honor student, right? No. Not on your life, believe me. There was no way. I came to McCaskey, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I came to McCaskey from Edward Hand with an attitude. Things weren't all that great at home. And I didn't trust adults. I really didn't. I came to McCaskey with the attitude that, okay, as soon as I was able, as soon as I was old enough, goodbye. You weren't going to see me anymore. I had the good fortune of getting in an English class that was taught by a man by the name of Clifford D. Hartman. And he saw something in me that he thought he could nurture and develop. I didn't know it at the time, but apparently I had a talent for writing. And he made me write. He saw that and he made me write. And at the time I hated to write. But he made me write because he told me, Richard, you can do one of two things. You can take that talent, you can nurture it, you can do something with it, or you can walk out of here and do nothing with it. It's up to you. And so he stayed on me. And when I came to McCaskey, there was a very good chance I was not going to graduate. You talk to people who knew me in the neighborhood. I was born on South Duke Street, grew up in the 7th Ward. Now they call it the Southeast area because it's not politically correct to call it the 7th Ward. Let me tell you folks, never be ashamed of where you came from. And I'm not ashamed to say I was born on South Duke Street, grew up on Howard Avenue. I had 131 Howard Avenue. I had an aunt and uncle who lived on 500 block of Locust Street, and another aunt and uncle on my father's side who lived on Christian Street. That was my world down there, and I'm proud of it. But I want to tell you, this place is responsible for where I am today, particularly Clifford D. Hartman, because he, like all teachers here at McCaskey, and I think that the students, yes, the students are the strength of McCaskey, but I want to tell you, from the time this building opened, the strength of McCaskey has always been its caring teachers. And I just want to say to you, especially to you seniors, if there is a teacher or teachers who made a difference in your life, like Mr. Hartman made in my life, please, please take the time before you graduate to go up to that teacher and say thank you. Because I want to tell you, I did not do that. And I never had an opportunity to do that. I waited too long, and I regret that. I have a feeling he knew what happened to me and what I did before he passed away. But I wish I would have said thank you for not letting me fail. The thing about McCaskey teachers is, it's not so much they teach you what to learn, but they teach you how to learn. And you will have that the rest of your life. The people that you will meet today and hear from come from all walks of life, as is the student body of McCaskey. Some of you came from other countries. You came here seeking a better way of life. But the key is, don't look for handouts. Take the opportunities that come your way. That's what I did. Thank goodness for McCaskey. Thank God for Clifford D. Hartman. because I know I would not be before you today as a newscaster for WGAL had it not been for John Pearson McCaskey High School. So thank you again, McCaskey. I know I took a little more time than I was supposed to. If you would talk to my producers at WGAL, they would say, there goes Hawksworth again. He pays no attention to the clock. But I just thought you should know that. John Hoff, class of 1940, is being honored as a distinguished McCaskey alumnus. John Hoff graduated from J.P. McCaskey High School a little more than a year before the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, taking America into World War II. John enlisted in the United States Army Air Corps. He was assigned to the famed 8th Air Force in England. He participated in the first 8th Air Force bombing mission over Nazi Germany. John flew B-17 bombers, and after 13 missions, John was promoted to command pilot and flew the next 12 bombing missions over Germany in the lead aircraft. When World War II came to an end, John decided to remain in the Air Force and make it his career. He served during the Korean War in the 1950s and during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. He was commander of an Air Force unit that had the top secret mission of dropping airborne troops on the Havana airport to remove Russian missiles that could hit the United States. Hoff and his men stood by on alert. These were tense times, ladies and gentlemen. They stood by while negotiations to resolve the crisis continued between the White House and the Kremlin. The Cuban Missile Crisis covered 13 extremely tense days in October of 1962. The crisis had put America on the brink of a nuclear war with the Soviet Union. President John F. Kennedy had learned the Soviets had stationed missiles in Cuba. President Kennedy told the Soviets to remove those missiles or face the consequences. Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev finally gave in, and the missiles were removed and the war was averted. Commander Hoff's invasion force was not needed. John Hoff received a personal thank you and a handshake from his commander-in-chief, President John F. Kennedy. During the Vietnam War, John Hoff was commander of a military airlift wing in Texas. The unit's large transport planes were used to carry troops, tanks, and helicopters to Vietnam. John Hoff retired from the United States Air Force in 1982 with the 2-star rank of Major General. His many military decorations and awards include the Distinguished Flying Cross, 4 Air Medals, World War II Victory Medal, and the National Defense Service Medal. General Hoff lives in Columbus, Indiana with his wife Rosalind. He is the father of 2 children. In his retirement, General Hoff has been active in veterans programs and getting recognition for his fellow World War II veterans and all of America's military veterans. Unfortunately, General Hoff is unable to be with us personally this morning, but he does send a video message.
Distinguished alumni nominees, McCaskey faculty, and students. I regret very much not being in person with you today. Circumstances dictate my short visit with you on this video. First, I wish to thank the Alumni Board for including my name with the other nominees. I am honored. I am extremely proud. Now, as I look where you are sitting today and then reflect where I have been in my life, I have come up with just 2 simple words of advice. The one word is plan or planning, and the second is friends or friendships. The following truism well defines the word plan. Listen carefully, for when I repeat it the second time, I want you to say it with me. A man with a plan is a better man than a better man without a plan. One more time. A man with a plan is a better man than a better man without a plan. Not much explanation is required, for those words say it all so very well. It also serves as a reminder that we should and must plan our lives well. Bottom line is to take time to plan all of your tomorrows. The time spent will have fared you well and lead you through a better life. Now for the second word, friend, which involves my favorite poem called Friends. This poem was sent to me from a missionary in 1963 serving off the west coast of Alaska. I have memorized it. I have quoted it innumerable times because the philosophy is so great and most impressive. I believe it relates to everyone some excellent thoughts for living a better life, which is paramount to all of us. The poem tells us that we are not placed on this earth just for ourselves, but that our lives are naturally associated with the persons who surround us every day. Now, I particularly like what I consider the best line of the poem, for its giving and doing for somebody else on which our life's splendor depends. Now listen carefully to all the words of the poem, Friends. If I didn't care just a little for you, and you never thought about me, and we stood all alone in the battle of life, what a weary old world this would be. But life is made sweet by the friends we have made, and the things which in splendor we share, and we want to live on not because of ourselves, it's because of the people who care. For it's giving and doing for somebody else on which our life's splendor depends, and the joy of the world, when it's all added up, is found in the making of friends, just like those friends surrounding you today. Now repeating, I believe that we should all realize that we are not on earth by ourselves, and that everyday living requires a daily sharing of our lives. I further believe that relationship starts with our immediate families, then extends to our relatives and friends, and then, yes, even to the man on the street, regardless of race, color, or creed. I firmly believe that living in friendships results in a more pleasant, a more productive, as well as a more purposeful life. So today then, I'm glad to have had this opportunity to give you and to share you with these words, plans, and friends. I hope you remember these words and suggest you take them home with you and make them part of your everyday lives. It certainly has been my personal privilege to mentally return to McCaskey and to share my thoughts with all of you today. And now, I wish for each and every one of you a lifetime of good fortune, good health, along with an abundance of happiness. As for now, I know the world out there awaits you, so go out and make your contribution to the world with good planning. Go out and make your place in the world with meaningful and lasting friendships. You will find that friendships indeed grow more precious each year. So thank you all very much for allowing me to share this time with you today. I salute your accomplishments. God bless you all.
And accepting the Distinguished Alumni Award for General John Hoff is Dr. Paul Ripple. He was a classmate of General Hoff.
The fellow classmate of the great class of 1940. Former flight surgeon in the United States Air Force. I'm very pleased to accept this award for General Hoff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ripple. While we're on the military theme, one of the distinguished alumni awards that I had the honor of presenting last year was to Major Richard Winters. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with this story, but you might want to grab the book and read about it, or better yet, watch TV tonight. And I'll tell you, Major Winters graduated from McCaskey, went on to F&M, graduated from F&M, and then World War II broke out, and he was in the Army. Major Winters ended up being the commander of Easy Company of the 101st Airborne Division, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, the 101st Airborne Division, better known as the Band of Brothers. His story and the story of the men of Easy Company was told in the book by Stephen Ambrose, Band of Brothers, and it was made into a mini-series by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg, a 10-part mini-series. And the History Channel is re-airing that beginning tonight. So, to give you an opportunity to learn of the exploits of a member of the McCaskey family, Major Dick Winters, I think you'll find it very interesting. Paul Martin, class of 1950. After graduating from J.P. McCaskey High School, Paul entered Dartmouth College. And after graduating from Dartmouth in 1954 with a bachelor's degree in American literature, Paul returned to Lancaster to begin his career in journalism. He got a job as a police and court reporter for the Lancaster New Era. But Paul had his sights on the big city. And in 1960, he landed a job as a copy reader with the Wall Street Journal in New York. Paul became the journal's copy editor in 1963, and he started editing the paper's business and finance column in 1969. In 1972, Paul was promoted to the journal's chief of the national copy desk. In 1975, he was named senior special writer for Page One. He moved to the national desk in 1988. In 1990, Paul was promoted to assistant to the managing editor. 3 years later, Paul was named an assistant managing editor of the Wall Street Journal. Paul had the responsibility of being the final reader for the journal's major stories and editor of the Wall Street Journal Style Book. Paul has edited 3 Dow Jones Books publications, The Possible Dream, Retirement Without Fear, that's one I want to read, Paul, and Labor in the Boardroom. He was editor and co-author of the book American Dynasties Today. Paul's awards include the Elliott V. Bell Award of the New York Financial Writers Association. The award was presented to Paul for his significant long-term contribution to the advancement of financial journalism. In 2001, Paul retired as a full-time staff member of the Journal, but remains the Journal's language arbiter and awards coordinator. Paul's latest edition of the Wall Street Journal Essential Guide to Business Style and Usage was published in 2002 by Simon & Schuster. Paul lives in semi-retirement on Staten Island, New York. He is the father of 6 children, and it is my honor to present to Paul Martin the Distinguished Alumni Award for the year 2004.
Thank you all, and thank you to the committee for this great honor. I'm going to get up today and tell you about how important high school is and how important how I look back on it as some of the best days of my life. But I was talked out of dwelling on that too much. But even some of the gentlemen on the stage today were talking about how we remember these high school days more fondly than just about any time. College was out of town. Here we were with family in Vickey. I grew up in West Lemon Street, down the street from Smith Gall's drugstore. And in fact, my distinguished class of 1950 had one distinguished Smith Gall boy, John, and his brother Jim was a year or two before that. So I'm well acquainted with that part of the city. I'm also, as others, Mr. Hawksworth said about his experience here and the teachers who influenced him a lot. I remember Cliff Hartman. He was a wonderful man, and I think he was football coach, freshman. But football too, in my day, he was JV football coach. They called him Blood and Guts Hartman because he was one of the down and dirty coaches, but he was a wonderful man, very gentle, despite his exterior. I had such great teachers here, and perhaps the best of the best was Robert Broom. He was an English journalism teacher, and he later served in the school board, as I recall. He was also the Vedette newspaper advisor at the time, and he provided such a great grounding in journalism, which I pretty well knew at that time was going to be my career, or thought it was. No one was more influential in shaping my career than Robert Broom. Never forgive me for one thing, though. He made me quit in my senior year. He made me quit as football manager if I wanted to be editor-in-chief of the paper. Well, that was actually an easy choice, but one black mark. I'd also like to make a plug for journalism in general, what good journalism can accomplish. After Woodward and Bernstein covered the Watergate scandal for the Washington Post and wrote All the President's Men, every kid wanted to be wanted to get into journalism and influence the course of history the way those two men did. Enrollments in journalism schools soared, but their kind of opportunity and fame come only to a few. Let me mention a case closer to home to illustrate the way journalists can move mountains for the public good. A Wall Street Journal reporter named Frank Allen, based in Philadelphia, wrote a story back in 1989 about the miracles a doctor in Lancaster County was performing in saving the lives of Amish and Mennonite babies and children. He had managed to diagnose the metabolic diseases that were killing the children, and he worked out the dietary and other treatments to rescue him. Rescue the children, that is. Saved many lives in that community. The story brought huge publicity and huge donations. It was a page-one story in the Wall Street Journal. In my day, I did some editing on it. I knew nothing about it until it was produced by Frank Allen in Philadelphia. That brought huge donations to the doctor, including Hewlett-Packard donating expensive diagnostic equipment. That enabled the doctor, Holmes Morton, to do the testing that he formerly had to send out, and it led to the founding of, a year later, of his clinic for special children near Strasbourg, which tries to test every newborn in the vulnerable communities. When I saw Dr. Morton at a fundraising auction in Leola a couple of years later, with thousands of people gathered to support his clinic, I said to him, "Look what you've done." And he said, "Look what your paper has done." Indeed, journalism can be a noble calling, can provide great accomplishments, whether it's bringing a president to his knees or being a force for good in your own community. For me, journalism was the only calling, thanks to teachers like Robert Broom and the editors at Lancaster newspapers, where I worked for 6 years before I went to New York, who helped guide me in my years there, the editors, and thank you for this great honor.
Thank you, Paul. And I'd like you to know I got my start in journalism with the Lancaster newspapers as well. I sold them at the corner of where the YWCA is. How many of you know who Barney Ewell was? Show of hands, please. Okay, well, you're familiar with the Barney Ewell track and athletic complex out back, aren't you? Barney Ewell went to McCaskey. And he went on to win a gold and 2 silver at the Olympics in 1948 as one of the fastest human beings in the world. I had the honor and privilege of knowing Barney as a kid growing up in the 7th Ward. Barney used to come around and start our track meets at Alumni. He was a gentleman and an inspiration to generations of Lancastrians, especially those of us who grew up in the 7th Ward. I would encourage you members of the McCaskey family to learn more about this remarkable athlete and human being. Barney left us a number of years ago, but his legacy still lives on, especially here at McCaskey. Those of you who followed in his footsteps on that track out there will come to know Barney Ewell's inspiration. The ghost of Barney still runs that track out there. And I know he's in the heart of every McCaskey athlete. And I know Barney Ewell was in the heart of our next recipient, Art Morris, class of 1963. Arthur Morris came to America in 1960 with his younger brother Brian, his mother Annie. They came to join their older sister, who was in school here in America. They came seeking a new life in a strange country. And while at McCaskey, now this goes back to what I told you about not seeking handouts, but accepting opportunities. While at McCaskey, Art Morris excelled as a student and an athlete. He was a member of the Red Tornadoes cross-country and track teams. Art won the Pennsylvania State Mile Championship in his senior year. He brought a state championship to McCaskey. Not only did he win that state championship, he set a record doing it. After graduating from McCaskey, Art went to Penn State University on a full track scholarship. Back to the opportunities, ladies and gentlemen. After graduating from Penn State, Art went to work for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, designing flood control structures for communities throughout the state. And in 1970, Art became an employee of his adopted hometown. He went to work for the city of Lancaster. He was city engineer and Lancaster's public works director. And what happened next, ladies and gentlemen, is a wonderful story about the opportunities in this wonderful country we call America. This kid from England who came to America as a teenager hoping for a better life, but not knowing what to expect. This kid from England became mayor of the city of Lancaster. After serving 3 terms as mayor of Lancaster, Art left public office for the private sector. One of his jobs was Vice President of Research and Membership for Public Technology Incorporated in Washington. but Art couldn't stay away. He came back to his adopted hometown of Lancaster in 1996 and established Utility Solutions Incorporated, which focuses on energy procurement and conservation, and Keystone National Alliance, an engineering and economic development consulting firm. Art has been and continues to be one of the most visible members of the Lancaster community. He is a founding member of the Bring Baseball Back to Lancaster Committee. He's a founding member of the Uptown Lancaster Economic Development Company, a minority business enterprise. He's a founding member of the Lancaster Economic Action for Downtown Success, and Art has served on the boards of Leadership Lancaster, United Cerebral Palsy of Lancaster, and the Lawrence Park Commission. He continues to run each day, and he has been a high school track coach for 8 years. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present 2004 Distinguished Alumni Award to Arthur Morris, class of 1963, J.P. McCaskey High School.
Good morning. I get tears in my eyes, quite frankly, listening to a story that I find it very hard to believe. This high school was the core of my entire life, and it's just remarkable for me to sit up here and think back at the wonderful days I had here. Truly, for me, when I look back at my life, I look at McCaskey as just an incredible experience that made me and gave me the opportunities that I hope I've taken advantage of. When we came from England in 1960, and let me tell you, in England in those days, I was 14 years old when I came over. When you're 11 in England, and it's no longer true, but then it was, everybody took the same exam. If you passed the exam, you went to what they called a grammar school. How I passed that exam, I don't have a clue. I went to the grammar school, which was an all-boys school, and I was bottom of the class. I stayed there for 3 years until we emigrated. I was bottom of the class for 2 straight years. I moved up a little higher my 3rd year just before we emigrated. I came to this country, and I didn't like it here. I like cricket, I like rugby, I like soccer, and you did very few of those things when I came here. And I came to McCaskey, and one of the first things they did, you will laugh when you hear this, but it didn't help this shy, retiring person with no confidence. The boys took swimming in the nude. That's the truth. They lined you up for attendance in the nude in the swimming pool area. I was frightened to death. They asked you whether you could swim, and they put you in beginners, immediate swimmer, or a swimmer. And they figured out whether you could swim or not by the first day making you swim a full length. I was so glad to get buried in the pool, since I didn't want people looking at me, that I swam a length for the first time in my whole life and became an intermediate swimmer. That was how I started at McCaskey, but I can tell you in the classroom, I was petrified. I had never been in class with girls, and you may think that's strange, but it was the case. I could not get up and speak in public. I would sit, and I'm sure there's a few people here in this room, although students today, I admire watching your television program this morning as the students spoke to you. I could never have done that, truly. The teachers here were great to me. Mrs. Coulter, my English teacher, was lovely. She taught me a great deal, but she taught me most by her kind, considerate way of treating a student that was afraid to be in the class. And she gave me the confidence over 2 years in her classroom that allowed me to be able to continue and at least participate in other classes, and particularly at the college level. This high school, and somebody else mentioned it earlier, that the teachers at this high school are what I remember the most. They prepared me for college. I went to college, and I look back after hearing I received this award and started thinking about those teachers. I can't think of one teacher that did not contribute to my career. I can't think of one that did not. They were all outstanding teachers. They prepared me so well for college. I can't remember a course that I began in that I didn't feel prepared to take. You get a tremendous education in this school. You really do. You're very well prepared. You're given every opportunity to participate in all of life experiences. And I just look back at this high school with great admiration. And lastly, I want to say for those kids in sports, schooling and sports are a wonderful combination if you can do it. I got my education fully paid for because of track and cross country at McCaskey. And I still participate. I don't know if Mr. Toro is here, or Russell Willard is here today, or Mr. Gladding is here, and I think it's Tim Johnson, the hurler. I saw those guys on Saturday, and they did great. And I still love track and field. I think it's great to participate. You should take advantage of it if you can, but your education is still the most important thing. And so I'm proud to stand up here today. I thank you for this special award. I thank the committee for giving me the chance to share my experiences with you and say I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Oh yes, I remember those swim classes. I remember them well. You know, back then you had to take, it was mandatory. You had to take swimming for 3 years in order to graduate. It wasn't elective. No, it was like phys ed, right? You had to take it. And if you failed swimming, you didn't graduate. So you didn't have much of a choice. How many of you knew that, I know you go to movies, watch movies, how many of you knew that an Academy Award winning director went to McCaskey? Yeah, it's true. He directed some of the biggest names in Hollywood of the past. Gregory Peck and George C. Scott, Dustin Hoffman, Steve McQueen, Mr. Cool. Franklin J. Schaffner, who won an Academy Award as Best Director for the movie Patton, went to J.P. McCaskey High School. And across town to F&M. That's right. Darn right. Also going to McCaskey was Carolyn May Hoffer, class of 1974. Following her graduation from McCaskey, Carolyn went to Millersville University. After graduating from Millersville in 1977, she joined her husband Paul in his general contracting business. But Carolyn decided there's something else out there, something she needed to do. So she went back to school. And she graduated from the Villanova University School of Law in 1982. She then joined the law firm of Barley, Snyder, Sent and Cohen, becoming a partner in 1989. Her specialty is business and real estate law. Carolyn is active in professional and community organizations. She became the first woman to serve as president of the Lancaster Bar Association, and she's a member of the board of the Lancaster Bar Association Foundation and is a member of the Pennsylvania Bar Association House of Delegates. Her community involvement includes serving as president of Hospice of Lancaster County, vice president of Hearing and Conservation and Deaf Services, and vice president of administration for the United Way of Lancaster County. She is committed to higher education and the opportunities education provides in the Lancaster community. Carolyn serves on the Millersville University Council of Trustees and the Thaddeus Stevens Home Board. She also served on the boards of the Millersville University Foundation and Leadership Lancaster. Her mother, Catherine Knight Shirk, is a member of the class of 1941 McCaskey. Her father, the late George May, was a member of the McCaskey class of 1940, so she truly comes from a McCaskey family. Carolyn and her husband, Paul, have 3 children. It is a pleasure to present Carolyn Hoffer, class of 74, J.P. McCaskey High School, with the 2004 Distinguished Alumni Award.
I have to move this down. Good morning, everybody. I am really thrilled to be here, and it's an honor and a privilege to stand before you today. I do want to take a minute and say how extremely proud I am of the students of this school. Good news doesn't always capture headlines, but there have been many good news stories this year from McCaskey. I heard the McCaskey Gospel Choir in the fall, and you were fantastic. I was not surprised to learn that you won trophies in Florida for your efforts. And a special thank you in that regard to the efforts of Mr. Scott and Mr. McMillan. A few weeks ago, I was here to see the spring musical Godspell, also a terrific production from everyone, the actors, singers, dancers, musicians, and all of the backstage crew. It takes many people to put on a production like that. I also learned that your magazine, Burning Glass, won state awards this year, and a special note to your advisor, Mrs. Hager. These achievements, together with all the athletic successes that you've heard about from Mr. Morris, show what a talented and involved group you are, and you should be proud of yourselves for that. Also wanted to reflect very briefly on my years at McCaskey. I graduated 30 years ago, which is extremely hard for me to believe, but it feels very familiar to be here in this auditorium. I learned a lot here. Unlike the others that you have heard from today, however, I was not the head of the school newspaper, was not president of class like Vickey. I didn't sing or dance, act, draw, many things I did not do. However, I did have an opportunity provided to me by a very special teacher. Mr. David Martin taught advanced biology and ecology here. He taught me how to canoe on the Conestoga River. We took water samples, we did water quality tests, and we learned a lot about the environment. We went on to do volunteer recycling efforts, and we had a fabulous time, and it gave me a community here. I also got, with the help of the principal then, Mr. Lowen, the chance to organize a Ride a Bike to School Day. We were trying to get our students to ride bikes instead of driving. At that time, we were in an oil embargo, and we were trying to reduce our dependence on oil. We used to say, and the adults in the room might remember this, be thrifty, drive 50 so Nixon can fly. Does anybody remember that term? Well, in any event, we were very short on oil, and we were a little annoyed that the president was flying. In any event, we also were expecting to see gas prices rise to almost 50 cents a gallon. I'm sure you'd be happy with that today. What I did learn here is that every student can find a place. It may be sports or music or acting, drawing, it may be work, or I hope it's volunteering. In finding your place, you can find a future. You find what you like and try to pursue it. You have all the tools you need here to lay a strong foundation. Your teachers care a great deal about your success. Please permit them to be a resource to you. We heard from General Hoff about the planning, and I think that's a very hard statement to remember, so I have a shorter one that my children hear at least once a week. And that is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So please try to make good planning for your future. In a great sermon I heard this year, this came home to me. The minister reminded us that most important decisions we make in life, we make between the ages of 15 and 25. Education, career, marriage, children, and faith. And then we spend the rest of our lives living with the consequences of our decisions. So I hope for all of you that you plan well. Congratulations to the graduating seniors. I wish you all well in your future.
Do you notice a theme developing among our recipients? They all give back to the community. They took the opportunity, or opportunities, did something. And then when they became a success, they gave back. And are giving back. And it's true of our past recipients the same way. Every one of them gives something back to the community. Because it's their way of saying thank you. And their way of helping you on your road to success. Because they know that there will be a time when you too will reach out with your hand and say, let me help you along the way. Vickey Wright-Smith, class of 1984. During her years at McCaskey, Vickey served as class president, homecoming queen, president of the Black History Club, was a member of student council, and a participant in the Students in Government program. In other words, Vickey got involved. And Vickey says she loved McCaskey so much she wanted to be involved in as many activities as possible. And I'll leave it to Vickey to tell you about a special moment here at McCaskey that involved Vickey and her brother, and I think you know what I'm speaking of. After leaving McCaskey, Vickey furthered her education by going to Penn State. She graduated in 1988 with a degree in the Administration of Justice and a minor in Spanish. And while at Penn State, Vickey received a Prince Hall Masonic Scholarship and a Black Achievement Award. Following her graduation from Penn State, Vickey enrolled in the Howard University School of Law in Washington, and she graduated with a law degree in 1991. She got a position as law clerk in the District of Columbia's Superior Court. She later became a prosecutor for the district's Office of Corporation Counsel in the Criminal Division. She prosecuted welfare fraud and traffic and juvenile matters. In 1998, Vickey entered private practice in the Washington law firm of Robinson and Geraldo. She is licensed to practice law in the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the state of Maryland. Her awards and honors include the Abraham Lincoln Junior High School African American Achievement Award. In 2003, Vickey and members of the 1982 J.B. McCaskey Girls Basketball State Championship team were inducted into the McCaskey Athletic Hall of Fame. Vickey was the team's manager, and I know Vickey will tell you she is most proud of her involvement with McCaskey's Best of Friends organization. Best of Friends was created in the year 2000, and it gives scholarships to graduating seniors from McCaskey to help them further their education. The opportunity, always back to the opportunities. Vickey is married to Alvin Luther Smith Jr., and they are parents of a 7-year-old daughter. It is with honor that I present to Vickey Wright-Smith, J.B. McCaskey High School Class of 84, the 2004 McCaskey Distinguished Alumni Award. Vickey.
Good morning, everybody. When I first found out that I was going to receive this award, I thought, wow, what an awesome honor to be selected to come back and talk to you all about some of my life experiences. And I looked at the list of inductees, and I'd like to take a moment just to congratulate all of them as well. But the one that stood out the most to me was Mayor Arthur Morris. And he probably doesn't even remember it, but when we were in high school here, we had a fall festival, and Mayor Morris agreed to come and cut the ribbon for us, so that was really exciting. And when I look back at my yearbook and I was trying to come up with some things that I could talk to you about here today, that was like a highlight for our class officers. It was like, remember Mayor Morris came and cut the ribbon? So, but in any event, I've been asked to come here to talk to you today about how McCaskey has prepared me for my success in life. For me, I'll tell you, success is not so much your profession and you know, what you do. To me, it's whether or not you're happy and are you enjoying your life. And I thought back immediately to when I came to McCaskey, and I can remember it just like it was yesterday. It was myself, my cousin Tasha, one of our girlfriends, Diane Stevenson. We were coming across that big field up there, Reservoir. It seemed big to us at the time anyway. And we were coming down here. It was a hot summer day, but we were so excited because we were going to be 10th graders here at McCaskey, and we were coming and we were getting our student IDs taken. And what you have to remember at that time, the Wright family the name was starting to become well recognized at McCaskey. There was Kenny Wright, who was an awesome basketball player here. Wasn't related to us, but the name was still there. Then you had John Wright, we call him Lynn. He was doing his thing on the basketball court as well as track and field. Everybody knew what Tasha was going to do when she got here. She was an awesome, awesome girls basketball player. And then there was my brother Frank, who I admire very much. He was representing the family very well on the academic side and also on the wrestling team. And so I thought to myself, well, gee, what am I going to do when I get here? How am I going to fit in? And the easiest thing for me to do was just to get involved. And so I got involved in as many activities as I possibly could, and they've already announced a whole lot of them, but it was AIM, WJPM. I'm glad to see WJPM has changed. So when we did it, it was just on the announcement, the radios, there was no TV, and so congratulations to all you children or young ladies that are working on that. And I saw Cece on there today, so I'm really proud of Cece. Keep going, Cece. One of the highlights for me during that first year, I have to tell you, it was being a part of that girls basketball team that won the only state championship basketball team, as I recall. I was only the manager on that team, but every single player on that team treated me as if I was one of the family. And it's true to today. When we came back in the fall and were inducted into the Hall of Fame, everybody welcomed me just as I was on that team. There was another special moment here at McCaskey, and they've already mentioned that. It was when I graduated. Well, actually, it was a year before I graduated. It was when my brother graduated in 1983. And I'm not sure if the tradition still goes on today, but you have the part where you pass the torch to the upcoming president. And so it was my brother that was the president of the class of 1983, and I was the president of the class of 1984. And so he passed the torch to me, and that was a really special occasion. And I don't know if they've had any other brother and sister or any sibling combinations like that, so that was great. But as you can see, and I hope you're picking it up, and most of the inductees talked about it today, the key here is that you want to get involved and give something back to your community. When I came to this school, I wasn't the class president. I was just a member of these organizations. But when I left here, I was a leader. I was class president, homecoming queen, president of the Black History Club, and I'm not going to mention a whole lot of the other leader activity roles that I took on, but there were a lot. When you leave this school, I would ask that you continue to support your alma mater and your community wherever you're at. And You know, I'm doing the same thing in DC. I'm doing the same thing I've been doing since I was here. I'm very active in my daughter's school. We're very active in our church down there. And I try not to ask her to do things that I wouldn't do myself. So if she's standing up there reciting a Christmas part or an Easter part in the church, I'm standing in the line and I'm coming up behind her to do the same thing. If she's playing soccer, I'm out there helping assist her with the coaching. But the most important involvement that I've been involved in since leaving McCaskey, and I have to touch on that before I leave here today, is the McCaskey's Best of Friends organization. This is an organization, it's a group of McCaskey graduates, and we just got together and we decided that it was time for us to give back to this community and this great school and the students that are graduating from here. And so in 2000, we decided that we were going to come up with a fundraiser where we could give scholarships out to graduating seniors. And so hopefully we'll be able to give one of you that scholarship this year. My brother Frank will be coming back to do that in a couple of weeks. But when I look back again at my yearbook, and I was just trying to get ideas of things to talk about, there was one thing that stood out to most to me. And it was a message that I received from one of the young men on the football team that year. His name was Brian Sourspot. And you got all the messages, you're a great job, good job as president, good luck in the future, blah, blah, blah. But what he said that stood out the most to me was, the Wrights do so much for this school. And that's the legacy that each one of you should be striving for today. When you leave here and wherever you go, don't forget your roots, and most of all, don't forget where you came from, and that's McCaskey. And I guarantee you, if you get involved wherever you're at, that McCaskey pride will stay with you forever, and it will carry on into the other areas of your life, and you too will be successful in whatever you're aspiring to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Vickey. Would you stand, please, ladies and gentlemen? All of you, please. The 2004 Distinguished Alumni. Thank you and congratulations. Before I turn it over to Buddy Glover, I just want to thank you, members of my McCaskey family. Thank you for welcoming me home. It's always a pleasure to come here. And I want to leave you with this. If you have a dream, pursue it, all right? And don't let anyone tell you you cannot do it. If I would have listened to all the people who told me, I would never be a television news journalist. Who knows where I'd be today. But I had a dream, and I wanted to fulfill that dream, and I worked hard to make it come true. And the foundation I got, the foundation I had to build on that dream started right here at J.P. McCaskey High School. Take what this school has given you, take what these teachers have given you, go out and make that dream come true. Leon Buddy Glover, your acting principal.
Good morning again. I'd like to take this time, first of all, to thank the student body. I think you did a commendable job listening, and I hope you gained a lot from the messages. So let's give yourself a hand to start off with. Secondly, I would like to thank all of the alumni who chose to come back and be with us. You all are distinguishing yourselves out there, your careers. Dick Hoffer is correct when he says about having a dream. I was a 9th grader, I think, Art, when you came to town, and I used to be one of those guys that looked up to you because, I mean, he was a great track person, and that was one of those role models, so it put dreams in your mind about what you could do. Vickey, the same way. I had the opportunity to be on the stage that night as the house principal for '83 when you did pass to your brother, or your brother passed to you, and that was a great moment. The only other one I can think of is Vera White and Mark White. you know, have also been a brother-sibling class presidents. What I want to say, if you think about a dream, maybe some of these dreams are far removed from you today because they're a little bit older, not as old as me in terms of Vickey and Ms. Hoff, but they are a little older. But McCaskey High School had a tremendous moment on Saturday. We had a young man who had a lot of dreams, Chris Wilson. And Chris Wilson, having known his family, in fact, a year or two ago we went up to Syracuse to see Chris play, and Perry Patterson was on the team there. But the point I want to make is he's only 5 years removed from this high school. He was drafted second on Saturday by the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's the highest any young person, any male has been drafted in Lancaster County. The other part about that is Chris was an academic All-American at the University of Pittsburgh. So you can combine your dreams of athletics and co-curriculars and put it together with education, and you can reach that dream or one of these dreams. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Well, speaking of a great day, it was a great day in Lancaster where the J.P. McCaskey High School Alumni Association presented its 2004 Distinguished Alumni Awards. This year's recipients include retired U.S. Air Force Major General John Hoff, class of 1940. General Hoff served during World War II, Korea, and the Vietnam Wars. He lives in Indiana and accepted his honor via a video message. Paul Martin, class of 1950, had a long career as a financial journalist with the Wall Street Journal. Martin served as the journal's assistant managing editor before retiring in 2001. Arthur Morris, class of 1963, came to America from his native England in 1960. While at McCaskey, Morris excelled in track and field and cross country. He was a state champion in the mile run. Morris also served 3 terms as mayor of the city of Lancaster. Also honored, Caroline May Hoffer of the class of 1974, graduated from the Villanova School of Law. She served as the first female president of the Lancaster Bar Association. Hoffer is a partner in a Lancaster law firm. And Vickey Wright-Smith, class of 1984, was manager of the 1982 McCaskey Girls State Basketball Championship basketball team and the class president. She's a graduate of Howard University's School of Law and is a senior associate in a Washington, D.C. law firm. Now, News 8's Dick Hawksworth, who received the McCaskey Distinguished Alumni Award in 1999, was the Master of Ceremonies.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good day.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well.